So that's a sample question there. There are no answer options, but it's a GMAT-like problem in that it tests the kind of things that GMAT questions test. So take a minute to just go through that question. So essentially the question says, in a knockout tournament of 64 teams, a team is eliminated after it loses and the winner advances to play with other winners. How many games will it take to have one winner in the end? So if you were able to understand what the question asks, it's essentially asking you how many games will need to be played to have one winner in the end. And we know that it's a knockout tournament. So if you are one of those intelligent students who knew how to approach this mathematically, this is probably what you did. You probably realized that there are 64 teams, and they're probably going to get split into 32 versus 32, right? And of that, there are going to be 16 teams that play with each other. There are going to be 16 games, and then there's going to be 8 games, and then 4 games, and then 2 games, and then 1 game, right? Yeah, 1 game where there's 1 winner. So therefore, what you will end up doing is, adding all of those numbers, adding all those numbers. But it does get a little confusing. Should I add that one? Should I not add that one? The answer is you should. But the point of this exercise is that mathematically solving this takes a bit of time, and it's very likely that you're going to make one of those silly mistakes while you're calculating it. Although this is quite a simple problem, and the GMAT expects you to do that. It expects you to do math and make silly problems or silly mistakes, because you probably do things in your head, you probably do mental math, or you look at the answer options and decide that, okay, this looks like an answer option that works, without necessarily understanding the question completely. So let me turn this around. Let me rather look at it from a critical perspective. Let me really try to understand what exactly this question is asking me about. So we know that there are 64 teams and it's a knockout tournament. It's asking me for how many games it will take from one winner to come out in the end. So isn't it essentially asking me how many teams have to lose for one winner to come out in the end? Right? How many teams need to lose for one winner to come out in the end? It's a knockout tournament. So think about it. What's the answer there? 63, right? And it's as simple as that. All we did is think about what actually the problem is. We took a little bit of time to understand what exactly is being asked. And that can really, really be useful, where you don't have to go into doing mathematics. I'm not saying that solving is a no-no in GMAT. Sometimes doing traditional math for some questions is the best way to approach it. But most times it is not necessarily the case, because it's time consuming, and many times we miss steps, or we end up choosing very predictable wrong answers. Right? So the idea there is that it's not really about mathematics, it's more about understanding the task and being able to get to the most effective way of answering a question.